Today we're going to work on getting your computer set up for the basics of software development. We're going to go over the setup process on Windows, macOS, and Linux, followed up with a simple program to test the tools that we installed today. We're going to go ahead and get started with Windows first. The process for installing the tools for software development has changed a decent amount over the years, and thankfully it has gotten a good bit easier. This should be an evergreen way to get a software development environment set up on Windows. The two big things we need to get installed are the Windows subsystem for Linux, which from here on out I'm going to call WSL, and Visual Studio Code or VS Code. We're going to go ahead and get started with WSL as it's typically the most finicky part of the installation process, but it should still be relatively simple. One thing you'll find out over time is that a lot of roads in software development lead back to Linux. WSL is a program that lets you run a Linux kernel and command line within Windows directly, making all of the tools that have been built for Linux easily accessible to all developers. This feature has been expanded and refined over time, and it's now one of the best ways to develop software on Windows. Go ahead and open a window of PowerShell as an administrator. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and open the Start menu and search for PowerShell. Go ahead and click on Run as Administrator, and if this prompt comes up, you're going to go and select Yes. Now, within this window, you're going to run the command WSL --install. Make sure you get both of those dashes before the word install. Go ahead and hit enter, and what this command does is it enables all of the features to run WSL and starts the installation process. Once this finishes up, if Windows asks you to restart, do that and come back. After a quick break to let everything finish downloading, here's where we're at. WSL has finished downloading and installing, and our default Linux distribution called Ubuntu has done the same. Now we're at the point where it's asking us to make a default user account for our default WSL distribution. There are a few important things to know when setting up these credentials before doing anything else. As part of this installation process, usernames cannot start with a number and cannot include capital letters. I highly suggest just making your username something short and simple and all lowercase. You don't often need your username, but simple is best here. Similarly, with your password, make it something that you know you will remember. Early on, you won't often need this password after initial setup. Later, once you start installing more and more tools and running advanced commands, you will need this password quite a bit. So for my username, I'm going to make it King. All of my machines are penguin themed, and it just so happens that this one's going to be the King Penguin. One more note. Whenever you type your password, you won't see any characters appear. This is called blind typing, and it's a common security feature. Your keystrokes are being entered, and if you think you mistyped, just hold backspace for a few seconds to clear everything out and try it again. And with that, we're in. Once this installation is complete, we're going to go and open the Start menu, and you'll actually see a new application called Ubuntu installed. This is the Linux distribution we installed on the machine. The first time you run this program, it'll be slow as it has a good bit of initial setup to do, but future launches will be much quicker, and actually it was pretty much instant here. We have a couple commands we have to run here. Go ahead and run sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade. If I can actually spell it right. This will download and install any updates that are available for the machine. This password here is the password you created earlier during the account setup. And now we can actually go ahead and close this other window and work purely within this Ubuntu window. Next up, we're going to go ahead and install our C++ compiler, a build tool, and our source control tool. I'll explain what each of these are in depth later with a short explanation now. The command that we're going to run is sudo apt install g++ make git. This will install 3 packages. G++ is our C++ compiler, which allows us to make programs out of C++ code. Make is a build system that is mostly used for bigger projects, allowing you to build programs out of multiple files very easily. And Git is the most popular source control software available. If you want to be a good programmer, you kinda have to know Git. There really aren't any exceptions. With these packages installed, you now have everything you need to build, source control, and compile C++ programs. So to verify that we have all of these packages installed, I'm going to go and type in clear to get rid of this terminal output. you can just type in something like any git command. So you can say git status, and you'll see not a git repository. This is an error message that Git itself gives, so we know that Git is installed. Same thing with G++, you didn't give any input files, so the compiler couldn't do anything. And lastly, with make, it gives its own form of error. So we know all of these packages are installed. So now, at this point, we're going to go and get the installation of VS Code, and thankfully it's a good bit simpler than anything we've gotten to up until this point. At this point, simply go to your browser of choice, which is for me is Arc, search for VS Code, and download it from the Microsoft website. Once you go through the installer, we have some extra setup to do within VS Code itself, mostly revolving around extensions. Windows users in particular, you have one extension that you need to install, i.e. the WSL extension. Everybody else on macOS and Linux they do not need to install that WSL extension. Once you have VS Code launched, we're going to go get those extensions I mentioned earlier. So again, I'm on Windows, so I'm going to start with getting this WSL extension. And then I'm also going to go ahead and get the C++ extension pack, which is this one right here. Once these are finished installing, what we're going to do is reload the VS Code window, and we're going to do so using the command palette. You could just close the window and reopen it, but I want to familiarize you all with this tool. It's an extremely helpful thing to do. I opened this little search bar up top that you see by hitting Control P. On macOS, it's Command P. And what you're going to do is you're going to type the greater than symbol, reload, and you're going to see reload window. This will reload the VS Code window with the extensions loaded. Now, it's important to know that if you're on Windows, you have to let VS Code know that you're going to be working within your WSL environment. So you'll see this little button down here. This says Open Remote Window whenever you hover it. You're going to click this and then come up to the top and click Connect to WSL. If you were on macOS or Linux, you do not have to do this step, as you did not install that earlier extension. But now we can get into sort of the rest of the VS Code setup from here. There are a couple of extensions that I think would be helpful for you to get right off of the bat. The first of which is the Doxygen documentation generator. We will make use of this whenever we write our small program later. I'm also going to recommend Bearded. It'll let you change the way VS Code looks. And for the purposes of this video, we're gonna go with Vivid Purple. And the last is VS Code PDF. This will let you just automatically view PDFs within VS Code. It's at this point that we can actually go and start writing our program. We have everything installed that we need in order to start writing our program. There is one thing that I want to make sure that you all have set up though. If you see this window right here, open folder, this means that you don't have any folders open within your current VS Code window, and you want to make sure that you always open a folder, not a file. What I mean by that is if you go up here and click open file, you don't want to do that. You always want to open a folder, and we're going to open this Hello World folder I made earlier. So what we're going to do is we are going to, first off, make sure you have autosave turned on. This will save you a lot of headaches. Please just do this now. Trust me. My very first computer science assignment, I spent like 3 hours over what I had already needed to, purely because I was not saving my file before compiling it. Don't make the same mistake I did. You're pretty much just going to copy exactly what I have. So we are going to include IOStream. We are going to use the namespace standard. And then its main. Let's see how it's hello world. And then we're just gonna put that on a new line. And then that's it. So what we gotta do here, we have to compile our program using our G++ compiler we installed earlier. We're going to enable all warnings. and then we're going to put in the name of our file. I typed in H and hit tab, and it auto-completed the rest of the file. I hit enter. You see, it doesn't look like anything happened here, but if you notice up here, this a.out file exists now. If we try to open this, this makes no sense to us, right? This is machine code. This is what the compiler does. The compiler converts this high-level C++ code into something that a computer can actually understand. And we can run this program that we just made by doing /a.out. And there you see, hello world, our program ran successfully. Congratulations, you've just written your first C++ program. I mentioned earlier that we'd use the Doxygen documentation generator within this small program. So what we're going to do is we're going to document our program at a high level, kind of summarize what we did here. So you can use the Doxygen documentation generator on functions, which you'll learn about later. For most introductory programs, it's really going to be useful at the top level of your program. So we're going to type in /** and then hit enter, and you'll see this giant pre-filled block right here, right? I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the copyright and version tag. And here you kind of just fill in the rest of the information as it applies to you. So my name is Parker Corbett, and the brief description is this program tests the success of our installation. And that is how you use the Doxygen documentation generator. The setup for VS Code is very similar among all platforms, so this applies for Windows, macOS, and Linux. The main difference is that on Windows, you just have to install that WSL extension, and whenever you actually load into WSL, you have to make sure these extensions are installed as well. You'll only ever see that install in WSL command on Windows, and whenever you're working on Windows, you have to make sure you see this WSL Ubuntu down here. If you do not see this WSL Ubuntu down here, you have to click on this and connect to WSL. But since we already see this, we're fine. The actual creating of the file, the terminal, all of those things are the same on Windows, macOS, and Linux. So this setup is similar for all platforms. Now we're going to go into the developer tool setups for macOS and Linux. For macOS, the setup process isn't too bad. I'm running a macOS virtual machine over here, so what we need to do is we need to go ahead and open our terminal. So if you hit Command Space, well, I guess I can't do it here. We're going to go into Apps, and we're going to type in Terminal, and crack open a window of our terminal here. Let me make this bigger so you folks can read it. And we're just going to verify, well, first off, we need to go and install our developer tools. Xcode-select-install. Now, you see that it opened a window in the background. We're going to go ahead and click install and accept the agreement, and it's going to take a while to install. So we're going to go ahead and pop back and then return once this is done installing. Now that our tools is finished downloading, we need to go ahead and see if Brew is installed or not. So what we're going to do is we're going to check and see if Brew is installed, and it's not. Brew is our package manager, and we need to get our other packages for our compiler, for our source control software, and for our build tool. So we're going to go ahead and open a window of Safari and type in homebrew Mac download, and it'll take you to this page right here, in which you can click this to copy it to your clipboard and just paste it into your terminal. It's going to ask for the password to your Mac. Go ahead and type that in, and don't be like me and get it right on the first time. And go ahead and hit enter here, and it's going to run through a ton of commands installing anything that it might need. There is one specific step that you must do at the end to make sure that Homebrew is set up in your system properly. So these steps right here where it says next step, run these commands in your terminal to add Homebrew to your path, you have to do this, okay? So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so the lines aren't so weird. What you're going to have to do, I'm going to go ahead and continue to make it bigger actually. What you're going to have to do is copy everything from this to here. I'll move it up just a bit. paste it into your terminal and run it, and then run brew dash dash version again, and you see that we now have homebrew installed. So we can now get the rest of our packages. So we're gonna say brew install g++ make and git, and this will install the necessary packages that we need. Yes. macOS does not use G++ in retrospect. You can say G++ because it's aliased to Clang++. Clang++ is just the macOS compiler. So we're actually going to say brew install make and git. And once this runs, you'll have all of the tools necessary to run C++ programs. What you'll do is you'll follow the exact same steps for the VS Code setup from here. Last but not least is Linux, and this actually takes the least amount of time to get set up and running. Naturally, you'll still have to go through the VS Code setup process, but all you really have to do is crack open a terminal window, type in sudo apt install g++ make and git, enter your password, and all of the necessary packages that you need to get installed will be installed. Now, one thing that I'm also going to do as soon as this installation finishes is I'm going to go ahead and update this Linux installation. This is a virtual machine again, so I still just want to make sure everything's good and up to date. So sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade. And once this finishes up, you are really pretty much ready to go. Just make sure you download VS Code and follow those setup steps mentioned previously.